Getting a doctorate is no easy task. It is a lot of time, it's a lot of work, it's a huge investment. People do need to weigh out the pros and the cons. Please talk to as many people as you can who are professionals themselves in this field. Get a lot of perspectives and make sure that you make the right decision for you. What's going on, everybody? My name is Phil Sarpon. This is Phil's Guide to PsyD. This channel is dedicated to all things psychology, wellness, and graduate school. I help students who are trying to get into graduate school, who are also trying to survive graduate school, and who are early career psychologists themselves to get the best out of their career. So if that is of interest to you, please subscribe to this channel. You can like this video and you can tune in for more videos that hopefully will help you get to where you want to go to in terms of your career. What are 3 reasons to not get a PsyD? I think the number one reason to not get a PsyD is the high rates of tuition. There's a lot of students who go into student loan debt because they want to get a PsyD degree. This should be one of the things that people need to really think about and consider before going into a clinical psychology doctoral program and getting a huge amount of debt that they will later have to pay off. The second reason to not get a PsyD is that it might make it a little bit harder to get specific jobs. Now, here's the thing. Clinical psychology PhD doctorates and PsyD doctorates can do the same thing. They go through the same licensure. They are clinical psychologists. The thing is, though, is that historically, there is a lot of stigma towards the PsyD. Now, this stigma has decreased. It's a lot better. There's a lot of academic medical centers and programs that really don't care if you are a PsyD student or a PhD student. But what I have faced and what I've experienced and what a lot of my other colleagues have experienced, and still to this day, there is a little bit more stigma in certain institutions. For example, if you were to look into academic medical centers in the United States, they do have a preference for taking on clinical psychology PhD interns. And when you apply for those clinical rotations, you're competing against other PhD students if you are a PsyD student. And especially there are places for internship that will only take PhD students. In fact, there was a program when I was applying for internship. I asked them, I said, hey, is there a chance that you take PsyD students? I've seen from just your historical catalog that you haven't really taken any PsyD students in terms of your internship. They wrote back to me and they said, it is probably best for you to not apply to our site. You probably will not get accepted because you're right. We only take PhD students and we only have a preference for PhD students. So at least they were transparent with me. At least I didn't have to waste money in that application fee, but that is something to be aware of. Now, once you get your internship and you get your postdoc and you are looking into jobs, it really probably is not going to matter. Most jobs don't care if you're a PhD or a PsyD. They just care if you're licensed. And so if you're a licensed psychologist, they most likely will take you. But again, if you're looking into specific types of clinical training, this could be neuropsychology, health psychology, rehabilitation psychology, geropsychology, forensic psychology. These types of specialties and niches are a little bit more competitive. In other words, there's a lot more students applying for those types of niches as it relates to clinical practicum sites, as well as internships, residencies, and postdocs. And so if you are a PsyD student, this is something that you need to think about before going into a PsyD program, because if you are looking to, for example, become a neuropsychologist, again, most neuropsychology positions are in academic medical settings. And so if there's a preference for PhD students to get more training than those PsyD students, that is something that you will have to be aware of. In other words, you might have to fight a lot harder in terms of building up your resume, building up your CV, building up your research experience, just in order to compete with some of these other PhD students. I think this is a really good question to ask the admissions. Are there examples in which people have gone through your program and have gotten neuropsychology internships, residencies, or postdoc? You need to make sure that the program that you're going to go into has examples, concrete examples of students who are already in that field, in that niche, practicing in that specialty. The third reason of not getting a PsyD is the research variability among PsyD programs. Now, here's what I mean by this. A lot of people will look online and they'll see that, oh, typically PhD students get more research experience and PsyDs don't focus on that as much. And so if I hate stats or I hate research, I'm definitely gonna go for the PsyD. I would be very careful in terms of that thinking, because you might be surprised that actually there's a lot of PsyD programs who do just as much research as the PhD programs. I would be also cautious, because if you pick a program that doesn't focus on stats or research, are there other things in their program that they're not focusing on that you're going to need to know, especially for your clinical rotations, especially for your practicum sites, especially to get a really good internship as well as a postdoc, or even pass and finish your dissertation. So those are really important things to think about. If you are very avoidant of research and stats, you might have to consider becoming a master's level therapist instead. You become a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed professional counselor. Those fields typically don't engage in as much statistics and research as the PhD and the PsyD programs. And so I know that some people look at the PsyD and they look at PsyDs from this generalized perspective of like, oh yeah, they don't focus on research as much. Now, it's a whole different ballgame if there are just PsyD programs that don't offer as many statistical courses, because that just shows that maybe they just don't have the professors or faculties to really teach those in-depth stats courses, which isn't the end of the world. Especially for licensure, you really only need the basic research and stats courses to be able to pass the licensure exam. Same with dissertation. If you're looking for more individualized coaching, you can always reach out to me on my website at philsarpon.com and we can connect there. But otherwise, I hope this video is helpful and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.